Steelers Radio Network host. Hello, Gerry. Good to see you, sir.
Rich, how are you, my friend? Always good to be with you.
What's the mood? What's the mood right now in Steelers Nation? Gerry Dulac, what's the mood?
Well, I don't want to say I don't have my finger on the pulse of the Steeler community, but when I do, Rich,
Yes,
I always tell everybody, relax. It's the preseason, and you just referenced a classic example why what happened last year. First team offense, 5 for 5 last year, 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns. They went up and down the field. Kenny Pickett looked like Patrick Mahomes, and they looked unstoppable, smooth and easy and explosive. And then they get to the regular season, and they fizzled like, a bad firecracker. And, 17.9 points they averaged, and that's after Mason Rudolph rescued the season with 81 points in the last 3 games. And so, that comment by Mike Tomlin, too, the other thing, what that was prefaced with is the fact that the offensive line gave him no time. And that he talked about that to the team, to the players afterward, that the offensive line, and if you saw the game, he didn't have any time to throw. He'd go back there and he's being rushed. And, I think not only was he under duress, Rich, I think he was under wraps, too, a little bit in Arthur Smith's offense. Look, they don't want to show anything. So when he's talking about it being, an incomplete body of work, yeah, it was because they just weren't able to do anything. And the biggest reason why is when he dropped back to pass, boom, here they come after him. So it doesn't change anything. The problem, yes, to a degree, 8 possessions by the first team offense in the preseason, no points. Russell Wilson 0 for 5. Saturday night, no points. And in 8 possessions, as Justin Fields has 3 points during the preseason. So it's not exactly an exclamatory body of work by either of them.
So then let's get to the health of Russell Wilson. He was finally out there, at least. That's a positive, clearly. And so do you think he, if healthy, still has the pole position regardless, Gerry?
I don't think there's any question, Rich. I mean, this position isn't up for debate. And even though some people want to think that it is, but, I mean, he was asked about his health the other day and he said, he's feeling much better. Well, I mean, I've been told all along that he's felt much better for a couple of weeks now. He strained that calf muscle and it wasn't, and I tell everybody it wasn't a Joe Burrow injury, but they didn't want it to become a Joe Burrow injury. And that's why at age 35, they were just being really cautious with him. But when you've watched him in training camp and when you see him do individual drills and everything, I mean, he moves fine. I don't think they want him running around. And when Justin Fields runs around, a lot of it is what we saw in Chicago. He drops back, and if it isn't one read, and if it isn't a go route to the X receiver down the sideline, it's kind of go back, look, and okay, take off. And that's what he did in Chicago, and we saw that the other night. I think 7 rushes, 42 yards, or whatever the total was. That's what he does best, but it's not the way they want to play. And I just don't, Justin Fields has given them cause to think, okay, let's put some packages in the game for him, and they would be dumb not to. But I don't think that, come Atlanta on September 8th, Russell Wilson's going to be your quarterback unless something unforeseen happens, such as an injury.
Well, you already referenced, Gerry Dulac, the offensive line woes that helped give an incomplete grade for Mike Tomlin to evaluate the quarterback situation. The first preseason game in which Russ didn't play, there were fumbled snaps that marred an evaluation of Justin Fields. For that one, now we hear Nate Herbig is going for a second opinion on what appears to be a torn rotator cuff. So that would put the rookie from West Virginia under center. I mean, as the center for Russell Wilson in Week 1. Is that what's happening right now, Gerry?
That's exactly what's happening, Rich. I mean, the best case for Nate Herbig is he's not lost for the season, but he's going to be out for an extended period, regardless, based on what I'm told. So if he's going for a second opinion, I don't know how that's going to change anything. I can't speak to that. But, that when you have a torn rotator, what would be the best case scenario after much rest? Yeah, it's not only a rookie center too, Rich. Troy Fautanu, their number one pick, he was going to be their starting right tackle against Buffalo, and he was going to stay there. Their plan is he is already their starting right tackle. I've been told by the coaches they believe he's their second best offensive lineman already, which is a bit of a heady statement, and I assume that means behind Isaac Seumalo. So now you have a rookie at right tackle, and you have a rookie at center. And in all likelihood, you're going to have a second-year tackle on the left side. Part of the problem is in the first game, Troy Fautanu gave up 2 sacks, and the other night against Buffalo, Broderick Jones got just manhandled by Greg Rousseau on 3 separate plays, 2 of which resulted in sacks. So it's funny that their 2 number 1 pick tackles are the ones who have been exposed in protection when they've been in there. But they're looking at a couple rookies in Atlanta if Tanu's back, which they expect him to be. And that's gonna, there's gonna be a little bit of a transition there. They like all those players, obviously. They like them big time. But you're still dealing with rookies and newcomers in the lineup.
Yeah, Zach Frazier's the rookie from West Virginia, second rounder,
right.
And Fautanu is at least the one that they were expecting to use. And now Jalen Warren is hurt significantly for a few weeks. This is a multiple-week injury for him?
Well, hamstring, Rich. And, when I say it's a typical hamstring injury, it's not a bad one, but it's a hamstring injury, and that's usually a couple weeks, and so he won't play this week, and then there's 2 weeks after that. So in all likelihood, he should be ready for Atlanta.
Okay.
And if he isn't, certainly week 2 in Denver. But it's not I've been told it's not a serious hamstring injury.
So the line, like if you sodium pentothal the coaching staff right now, Gerry, the line is more concerning to them than the quarterback room right now?
Probably because of injuries. Losing Nate Herbig, with all due respect to Nate, it doesn't hurt their starting unit. What it does is it hurts their depth, because This was a guy who's their first guard off the bench, and of course then would be the first center off the bench. When Broderick Jones on the first day of contact at camp on the very first play somehow hurt his elbow, and he's never I don't think he's ever missed a practice since, but he's playing with the big brace on his arm, on his right arm, protecting that elbow. And I don't know how much that is harming him in protection. Obviously, it's not harming him enough that he can't play. I think, when they see that, look, it's not cause for alarm, but there's no question you can't ignore it. There has to be a little cause for some amount of concern, because they're young players. Broderick Jones, though, started 8 games at right tackle last year. They saw what this guy can do. And all along, they've even publicly said they want him at left tackle. So with Fautanu at right tackle, now all of a sudden it's Broderick Jones and Dan Moore, who's been the left tackle since day one of his rookie season. They are going to, quote, battle it out on the left side. But, Rich, after Broderick Jones, their number 1 pick, 14th overall, started 11 games last year, there's no way they're putting him back on the bench.
Gerry Dulac here on the Rich Eisen Show. Wait and see with Brandon Aiyuk right now? Just hanging out, seeing if he and the Niners fall apart? Is that the way things are right now?
Yeah, that's kind of where it was. I mean, they've been waiting all along. They felt the ball was in the 49ers court. And then, of course, they thought, okay, they're probably going to try to re-sign him, which appears to be the case. Rich, I can't remember our last conversation, but the Steelers I was told, were not going to offer any players in a trade. Now, don't ask me why, but they weren't. And they're not about to budge. They were going to offer draft picks, a number 2, and then something else. So I guess they're just kind of waiting to see what the 49ers decide to do with him. Obviously, Rich, they would like to have him. I don't want to say they need to have him. When you have George Pickens, you don't need to have him, but there's no question they'd like to have him, and we'll kind of see how it plays out.
What's the sense of a second-year leap for Pickens, Gerry?
Well, so far what we've seen, this guy catches everything that they throw to him. Doesn't matter if it's on the sideline, on a slant, down the field. I mean, he just, every day in training camp, he's making a catch that just wows the people in attendance who see, the fans who see it all the time. And, he in terms of big plays, there can't be too many receivers in the league capable of making more big plays than this guy. I think they just expect bigger things from him. And again, based on what we've seen, there's no reason to think that we won't.
Yeah, I mean, the line that Tomlin used preseason with him, and then when I got a chance to chat with him prior to that game against the Colts on NFL Network, he used the phrase again. He tells Pickens to do the routine things routinely because he does the eye-popping stuff routinely. And it's the routine stuff routinely. Has he nailed that down, do you think, Gerry, the routine stuff?
Rich, I always say he makes the routine play look spectacular and the spectacular play look easy. and so, yeah, I mean, everything, his route running, with the quick slants, things over the middle.
Right.
And they want to take advantage of that because they want to take advantage of his ability to run. That appears to be better. Again, we'll see what happens in games. But, they're like I said, there is no reason to suspect that there's going to be nothing but bigger things from George Pickens.
And again, your sense, just to circle back one last time on the Aiyuk trade, your sense is that the Steelers are not throwing another current human being on their roster in this trade to San Francisco if somehow the Aiyuk 49er conversations fall apart completely and they just say, screw it, we're sending you to Pittsburgh, that's it. That there is not going to be another player on the roster of the Steelers going back to San Francisco in the same way that the reporting was Amari Cooper would be somebody, or the Niners needed to have a receiver back to supplement the loss of Aiyuk for this year.
The Steelers' understanding all along, Rich, was that the 49ers wanted a receiver and they were going to try and go get one maybe somewhere else, and then it was going to kind of be a 3-team deal. They also thought their division rival, the Browns, might get him because they could give them Amari Cooper, and Jimmy Haslam, who's been known to make insane, ridiculous deals, just might do that, for Aiyuk and the 49ers. But right now, the Steelers aren't prepared to throw another deck chair on the Queen Mary, Rich. I mean, they're standing pat. I'm not going to sit here and be Omar Khan. But they've been very adamant to me that there is not going to be a player involved. And again, why? I don't know. But that's their stance. They're just going to stick with draft picks one.
All right, and for the last one last throw at the dartboard here with you, Gerry Dulac. Ryan Tannehill's at the crib, on the couch, sitting at home. We all know his great years in Tennessee. He had Arthur Smith dialing up the plays just as he does now in Pittsburgh. Any there? Any conversation there to supplement the quarterback room with Russ a little dinged, and the first 2 weeks of this preseason, I know it's preseason, no fires have been lit. What do you think?
Well, in this political season, that sounds like a nice conspiracy theory, Rich, but I don't think that's going to happen. They kind of like Kyle Allen. He's played well when he's been in there. He's his 5th team in 6 years or whatever, but
Right.
He's a veteran. He does all the right things, and for a number 3, he's a perfect fit. No, they're satisfied with the 2 quarterbacks they have. They're not making no wheels and deals going on there with another quarterback. Yeah, Ryan Tannehill at his best 2 years. His career was resurged under Arthur Smith in Tennessee. But if that was going to happen, I think that would have happened a while ago. And right now, no, that's not going to happen.
All right, and then what's your over-under on which week Big Ben comments on the quarterback situation on his podcast, Gerry? What's the over-under on this situation here? What do you think?
Well, Rich, I was just texting with him the other day, actually about golf, and I didn't want to kind of pump him and get his sense yet, but I don't know. I give it a couple weeks.
Okay, because I'm sure he's got 2 cents on it, and I already seen Gerry, I'm already seeing stuff on my Twitter feed or whatever it's called from Steeler fans, posting like screen grabs of his 500-yard performance, saying, "I miss these days." You know what I mean? Like there's already we're there. We're kind of reaching that part of the post Big Ben era. And again, I know it's just preseason, but that's part of the reason why I want to have you on here to talk about it.
Rich, right before I came on the show, I was scrolling Twitter or X, and
Yes.
there was the final drive, the Tampa Bay, against the Cardinals with the touchdown throw to Santonio Holmes and that entire drive, and you see the throws, including that special one, and you go, "Wow, it's really something." It really is.
I know.
We forget about it sometimes.
We sure do, no doubt. Jerry, thanks for the time. Greatly appreciate you taking my call, and look for some more before the season.
Rich, anytime, my friend. Good to chat with you.
Right back at you at Gerry Dulac, Gerrydulac on that GerrydUlac on Twitter. I shouldn't spell live on the Rich Eisen Show right here on the program. The great Gerry Dulac. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.